Are some tips for people who are learning how to do wheelies.
Alright, so it's Amigo 1 here, aka Unknown Rider. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find yourself a nice area to learn. And then you're going to want either, my right foot is my dominant foot, my bad. And so when I go to start a wheelie, I have my right foot up like this, and then I push down to get the front end up. Some people it's going to be your left foot, but not for me because I can't get it up that way. So try other foot and learn that way. And then that's how you're going to start your wheelie. So you're going to start like this, rolling nice and slow. And then you're going to I use my right foot, you can use your left if you want, and then push it down. And that's how you're going to make the front end come off. Alright, so tip 2 is you're going to want to get yourself a nice, easy rolling start. So like, when you're going up to go to the wheelie, you want to roll slowly. So personally, I like to do 2 pedals to 3, depending on how fast I'm going. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, and that'll bring it up for me. But some people, even if you're starting early, you can even practice like what I did when I was first beginning. I would practice going like this slow, and then pulling it up and stepping off, which is another good way to learn how to like get yourself at the same time as getting the front end up, which it makes it a bit easier. So yeah, tip 2, start rolling, and then start rolling even slower and just trying to jump off, depending on your like level. Alright, so tip 3 is going to be after you get the bike up, you're going to want to get it up and then make sure that your least dominant foot is going to be able to push back to keep you up. And you're going to want to make sure that your arms are nice and straight and slight bend in the elbows. So just a quick idea of what that looks like is we're going to put the last few tips together. We're going to go 1, 2, up, sit down, and then keep your arms at that slightly bent area and make sure that you're able to just continue pedaling. And make sure that try putting your seat a bit higher too. If you're trying sit-down wheelies, stand-ups, it's a bit different, but we'll make another tutorial on how to do stand-ups and tips for that. So make sure you have your seat pretty high. I have mine lower because I'm a bit better, and I've been wheeling for a while. So yeah, that's tip 3. Alright, so after you get it up, the big thing that comes in is your brake. So if your brake doesn't have brakes, so a lot of like the smaller BMX bikes don't, you're going to have to learn how to use your body weight to balance, which that becomes like more of a stand-up wheelie when you have to do your body weight because you have to be forward and back. But if you're learning your brakes, I would make sure, I'm doing it with rim brakes, you can do it with disc brakes. Yeah, I think just disc brakes are the only other ones. I might be wrong. So if you're going to want to feather your brake. So I'm going to recommend 1 finger. You can try 2 fingers. I just find that it's harder to get a grip on the bar so I slip more. So you're going to want to try 1 finger. If you don't like it, go to 2. Make sure your brakes are kind of loose so that you have some time to get it in so that it's not immediate brake. My brother had that problem. But if you have it nice and loose, just make sure that it will save you worst case scenario. But this is like one of the main things. I also have my brake. One more thing is I have my brake tip further down so that if it's up here, there's less grip on the bars when you're pulling back, so your fingers are more likely to break off. So I would keep it down so that when you have that jolt of power coming up, your finger stays down here instead of up here so that you don't slip. So when you're doing a wheelie like that, you're going to add what we did together, and then you're going to add the brake. So you're going to want to tap with the brake. The one way to learn how to do it though, so the best way to learn how to get used to hitting the brake is bringing it up and then just hitting it. Bringing it up, hitting it. So finding your balance point too, which I'll talk about in the next one. So, alright, so this is tip 5, but also one more thing about tip 4 too is when you're bringing it up, so get up to that balance point, and then hit the brake, bring it down. Up to that balance point, hit the brake, bring it down. That's how you're gonna get used to it. So one thing, how that kind of looks, is just getting it slow rolling, up, down. So you see how I slam on my brake? We'll do a zoom in of that later. So you're gonna go up, down, immediately. So that's gonna help it. And then, so speaking of balance point, that's gonna be this tip. So tip number 5 is balance point. So this is gonna be the spot where you're most comfortable in the wheelie. So the spot where you can sit the best or stand comfortably throughout the entire wheelie, so that you don't have to constantly be chasing the wheelie so it's too far, or be too far back where you're constantly going over backwards. So what you're gonna want to do here is just experiment like I did with my brake and bring it up till you feel comfortable, and then try and continue it out without using the brake, just to see like where you're gonna tip over backwards, but where you're also chasing that wheelie. So like my balance point, I'll show you that real quick. My balance point is about, let's see if I can get it up first try. My balance point is about right here is my balance point, because I'm not chasing the wheelie, but I'm also not like scared to fall backwards all the time. Alright, so this is tip number 6, but it's going to be like extras. So it's going to be things that'll make your wheelies easier, things that you can tweak and do to your own ability. One thing is that you'll notice it's not the best when you're riding off-road and stuff, so it all depends on what you're doing. But I have my front tire really low on air, because air obviously weighs. So the less air that you have in your front tire, the lighter the front end of the bike is going to be. So that's going to be better for like getting it up and learning. So just slowly put more air in. Just don't put it down all the way, because then you're going to come down from a wheelie and just slam your front end, and then you're going to bend your rim. So, but if you're like learning how to wheelie, but at the same time enjoying hitting jumps or riding on rocky terrain, I would be a bit careful just so that you don't damage your front rim. But if you're just like what I usually do and just ride wheelies all the time and have just open roads to ride on, I would do this. So like, it's pretty squishy, so it's gonna make it a lot lighter than if you had air, like if you have a lot of air, because if it's rock solid, I tried this earlier because I tried to make it really like full of air to make it better for hitting jumps so that I wouldn't land too hard, but it just made it so heavy to bring up. So yeah, like I said, I would try and keep it lower on air on the front end, just so that it's easier to keep it up and you have more control overall. Alright, so one other thing that my friend pointed out, he's the cameraman, so he said that he noticed that a lot of times when people wheelie, their balance point is where like, it looks like their seat post is almost in line vertically with their axle. So it's like straight, almost straight down. So like this part looks almost like vertically in line, so that it's not like this, it's not like this, but like you don't want to be up too high. So even here is good, or I've even seen some people ride vertical and that's just how they're most comfortable. And then one more thing, I've heard a lot of people say that their bike and like their brand makes it all harder. Well, I know I have a really expensive bike and it's a high-end, it's lightweight, all of that, and it's made for wheelies, but I've upgraded to this. I rode, the first thing I ever wheelied and got comfortable wheeling on was like a Walmart bike that my grandfather got me from the dump. So it doesn't really matter what you wheelie on, as long as you just put in that work. So one more thing, the bigger the bike, the more area that you have to vary with. So going up, I can go all the way from this in a wheelie, I can go all the way from this in a wheelie, all the way back to this in a wheelie if I really wanted to, and still be fine. But on a smaller bike, it's gonna come up a lot faster. Like I used to ride an 18-inch, and this is a 24, by the way. The 18-inch came up immediately. I tried to get back on it and ride again, and I went right over backwards. It comes up a lot faster. So then you're gonna need a lot more brake control. So yeah, I think we've covered most of it. If you need any more tips or anything, or have any suggestions for us to do, like any more tips or any more suggestions or anything for us to do in the future on this channel, just leave it down in the comments. We'd be happy to do it.
Alright, I hope this helps some of you guys learn some wheelies. Just put in that work and keep practicing. Also, if you like this video and want to see more like it, please subscribe.